Welcome to The Narrative. This is a new series I've introduced on my channel where I talk about stories, things happening in the UK, and what are the things we can learn from them and how can we avoid being in similar situations. So I love storytelling, so I felt like to introduce a story series as part of my usual videos. I hope you enjoy today's video. I'm going to be talking about the Windrush story. This is a historical story and the UK government have been making fuss about the Windrush. I don't know if you've seen the news and articles of what's happening in the UK lately about the Windrush. I'll be explaining to you what's happening and why this is making the news and what we can learn from them. Hey lovelies, welcome and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new to the channel, my name is Faith Ojone, and on this channel I talk about ways you can travel abroad and settle abroad. I share resources on how you can get started. I share latest updates concerning the UK, how you can move and settle in the UK, everything you need about the UK, and I also share stories. So if this is the kind of content you like, do hit the subscribe button down below, turn on your notification bell so you do not miss any of my video. Without saying so much, let's get started. The Windrush is a term that refers to a group of people who migrated from the Caribbean to the United Kingdom after the World War II. The migration was mainly due to labor shortage in the UK, as many British citizens had died and were injured during the war. In the late 1940s and the early 1950s, the UK government actively encouraged people from the Commonwealth country, which includes the Caribbean countries, to move to Britain to help rebuild the country. So many of these people were recruited to work in NHS, public transport, and other industries that needed workers. So the first wave of the Caribbean immigrants arrived in the UK in 1948 aboard the HMT Empire Windrush. This was a passenger liner that had been used during the war and was repurposed to carry immigrants from Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, and other Caribbean countries to the UK. Many of these immigrants were young men and had served in the British Army Force during the war. The arrival of the Windrush and its passenger was seen as a positive development at that time. The British government welcomed the immigrants and encouraged them to settle in the UK permanently. However, things started to change in the 1960s when tension began to rise between immigrants community and the wider British society. So one of the main reasons for this tension was racism, of course. Many white British people were hostile towards the new arrivals, seeing them as a threat to their job and the way of life. This hostility was often expressed in violent attacks on black people and their homes and businesses. Another factor that contributed to the tension was a perception that immigrants were not integrating into the British society. Many black people found it difficult to find suitable housing and employment and were often forced to live in overcrowded and substandard accommodation in the UK. Despite these challenges, many Caribbean immigrants did manage to rebuild successfully lives in the UK. They formed close-knitted communities and contributed to the British society in many ways. For example, many of them worked in the NHS and other public services, while others set up their own businesses and became entrepreneurs. However, the relationship between the immigrant community and the wider British society remained tense. In the 1970s, a series of race riots broke out in the UK, with black people being the main targets of violence and abuse. In 1998, the UK government issued an apology for the deport and injustice that had been inflicted on black people in the past. So in 2004, a Windrush Day was established to celebrate the contribution of the Caribbean immigrants to the UK's culture and society. Unfortunately, in recent years, the Windrush generation has been in the news again for all the wrong reasons. In 2018, it emerged that many Caribbean immigrants who had come to the UK as children in the 1950s and 1960s had been wrongly deported or denied access to services such as healthcare, housing. This was due to the new government policy that required people to prove their immigration status in order to access these services. Many of the Windrush generation had never been given formal documentation to prove their right to remain in the UK, and as a result, they were caught up in the government crackdown on illegal immigration. This scandal caused outrage in the UK and led for the government to apologize and provide compensation to the victims. Many people felt that the Windrush generation had been let down by the very country that had encouraged them to move in the first place. This is the end of my story. I feel like this is a similar thing they're doing. So after Brexit, the UK also opened up their border to people to come in and work. A lot of people are moving from the UK. It's because of the immigration policy. UK immigration policy changed a lot. And what I learned from this story is that whatever you do in the UK, do not get comfortable. Do not get comfortable until you become a British citizen. And even if you're a British citizen, I mean, you're still black. You're still not considered like their own. You know, how can they ask these people to leave their country to come and help rebuild UK? And after you're done with them, you just felt like, okay, I'm just going to deport you. So this is why the Windrush, if you've been seeing the story on the news, this is the backstory behind the Windrush. And the Windrush generation are really not happy with how the government is treating them after their ancestors have left their own country to come help rebuild the UK, and this is how you pay them back. The UK left the EU. They felt like it's time to also rebrand the UK. Let's open our border to people to come and work and help support our economy. Who knows what will happen after they've gotten what they want? Are they going to kick us out? I don't know, but whatever you do in the UK, make sure you have your documents secured. When it's time for you to apply for your ILR, please do not wait. In fact, start from now and start saving money towards your indefinite leave to remain. Make sure you get all your documentation that allows you to live in the UK legally. As you're here in the UK on a skilled worker visa or any visa that allows you to stay in the UK, once it's time for you to apply for your indefinite leave to remain, go ahead and apply. Do not wait. Once it's time for you to apply for citizenship, please do not wait. Apply immediately, because who knows, UK immigration policy changes every day. This is the end of my historical story about the Windrush. I hope you enjoy it, and if you do, leave a comment down below and let me know if you enjoy the story time so I can create more content like this. And guys, I'll see you in my next video. Bye.